We finally got new Beam Clash footage, and as hype as it is, there are some things of concern with the way it actually looks and functions in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Hello everyone, it's me again, Steedoji here, back with some more Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and I will say, this is the new Beam Clash footage between Super Trunks and DBS Broly. Now, so far, we think that there's only one form for Trunks. I think Super Trunks actually only has base form and Super Saiyan, because Z Trunks is going to have Super Saiyan 2, and Super Trunks' Super Saiyan is in fact just Super Saiyan Rage as well. But besides the point, new Beam Clash footage between two new characters who we never thought would actually have a Beam Clash before. Trunks and Broly. This is both with Super to Super Attack. Keep in mind, the last time we saw Beam Clash footage, it was Ultimate Attack to Super Attack, which was Blue Goku's Ultimate and Vegeta's, Super Attack. Now, since this footage is of a higher build than the one we got previously with the gameplay showcase, there's actually more to get from this one. We could see that the boost feature, as well as the mash Y feature to actually increase the power of the Ki Blast or the Beam Clash, is it's a lot more obvious what it does now, I would say. Now, when you're doing a Beam Clash, I think it works on the Dragon Ball Legends feature, also the same way Budokai did the Ultimate Attacks, where if you wanted the boosted version of the Ultimate Attack, you needed to time your input with, the higher it gets in the games, like, charge bar, right? So, example is, in this footage, we kind of see the guy just mash the button, because again, whoever's playing probably didn't know what you're supposed to do here. That's not his fault. But what I assume you're supposed to do is wait for the yellow to go a bit further into the bar, as far as you can get it before it fully resets from reaching the top, and, press all those inputs to get all the extra power in. Again, this is a lot more reasonable than having to mash the stick. Don't get me wrong, I love mashing for Beam Clashes and stuff, right? But there are going to be people who just can't mash as fast as other people. There's going to be people who are just actually, like, I don't know, drug addicts while they're playing this game. And then there's going to be people who also have, like, they're not in the best physical condition, let's say. People might have some sort of illness or something else going on. It makes it really hard to enjoy a game when you have to, like, potentially just give yourself immediate arthritis by mashing the button. That would suck. And the boost feature allows us to use bars of Ki to unlock those extra gray squares you see in the Beam Clashes. Now, you don't see it in the new footage we have, but in the old footage we have, you can see that there are still gray bars there because he has not pressed boost in this gameplay showcase. In the gameplay showcase, they never actually press boost. But what boost does is that it unlocks those gray bars, so you can have an even easier chance of winning the Ki Blast Clash because, you could reach higher levels of Ki with your timing, right? A good example is that if you never press boost, you could potentially get the max score over time. But if someone raises their Ki even higher, they sacrifice Ki so they can win the clash, they can get even more out of their clash exchange points. And even if you go for perfect scores all the time, that's gonna be just not as worth it as the extra new score they're gaining. You see what I mean? If you press boost 3 times, you unlock all 3 gray squares, and that means you can dump even more Ki into the clash, and therefore you win. If you don't do that, then, you'll just be fighting at normal level. There is a downside to this, however. You can see in the new footage that Trunks only has, he doesn't even have enough Ki by the time the Beam Clash actually does start for real. So when he boosts, his Ki goes into the red, meaning after a Beam Clash, when he wins, the character would be in, like, a burnout, kind of, like, tired mode. Characters did this in Tenkaichi 3 if you broke their guards for the most part, or if they suffered any other kind of Ki drain that was, like, excessive on the character. And Sparking Zero, it seems like you can actually burn yourself out on a Ki Blast Clash, just like in the anime, so be careful when you dump your Ki. Make sure you time your mechanics, make sure you preserve your Ki bar normally. If you have to go full power of your Ki, like Goku did with Zamasu, where he hurts his own arms and he has to kick him only, right? Feel free, put yourself in the burnout, get really anime accurate. But for the most part, this is actually a lot more of a skilled mechanic now than it's ever been in any Dragon Ball Z game. While we are saying goodbye to mashing, we are not going to say goodbye to the beautiful Beam Clash animation, showing both the perspectives the whole time you're doing the Beam Clash. I do like how the beam is in big focus and showing both sides doing the beams. It's actually really, really cool. Now, I'm going to talk about my gripes with the Beam Clash just a little bit, because don't get me wrong, it's great to see and it's great to have. But one thing that kind of irks me is that they're right next to each other when they shoot the beams, but when the beams actually connect, they end up being worlds apart. And then the whole background changes to, like, the dimension sky, which isn't an issue, but they also end up in a different location when the moments the beam touches. They end up, like, high in the air, like, further away from each other. It's not the way it was in Tenkaichi 3 at all, and it seems like rush attacks and beam clashes have kind of swapped cinematic effects, for lack of a better word. I guess what I mean by this is, now we can do rush attacks underwater. Sure, we can have all those cool animations happening underwater, in the sky, in a cave, at any part of the map. But beam clashes can't happen underwater, in caves, like, in different locations of the map. Like, it can't happen, like, I don't know, like, let's say there's, like, a destructible house, right, and you could fight inside that house. You can't beam clash inside of a building anymore. You can't beam clash inside of, like, I guess the Cell Games arena either. because it would just go straight to the dimension effect the moment the beam touches, and it'll make you guys go really far apart. You can't recreate like Gohan versus Cell's beam clash and Sparking Zero, because when they were beam clashing, they were like really close to each other, right? And that's a really cool thing that Tenkaichi actually kept in mind, that you could beam clash right next to each other and it would look really, really cool. But in Sparking Zero, you immediately get forced to be much further away the moment the beam touches, and it also just teleports you to like, I guess, a predetermined area, so that way the dimension break cutscene or like effect can happen. Beam clashes are also just directly horizontal now. Before, you could beam clashes at different heights. A good example is like, how are we going to do Kamehameha versus Gallic Gun in this game? Unless if there's going to be like unique story versions of beam clashes, or maybe you could change the beam clashes effect. Maybe beam clashes of this level only happen when you got characters like DBS Broly involved, right? Keep in mind, when DBS Broly punches people, he creates a weird effect where you could see the dimensions like taking damage while he hits you. So that's interesting, right? And characters like Blue Goku and Blue Vegeta are also strong enough that I think they would trigger the same effect. So maybe only of top tier characters who like trigger these weird dimension breaking effects. We know tiers of strength in Sparking Zero actually matter a lot more for characters now. So maybe we could still have normal beam clashes with like Z characters, because I can't imagine how you would do Kamehameha versus Gallic Gun from the Saiyan Saga with the way beam clashes are now. Goku can't shoot up and Vegeta can't shoot it down, because the moment the beams touch, we'll just end up going like horizontal towards each other, like straight normally. Like there's no verticality in the beam clashes at all. You can't recreate like shooting a beam up at a death ball as it comes down, because the moment it touches, you'll just both go horizontal like immediately, and it kind of loses that awesome effect, you know what I mean? It's also probably just my opinion, but I think maybe I preferred the older beam clash method more, where you could see almost the full length of the beam like going up and down throughout the battlefield, and you could vaguely see both sides depending on who was winning the beam clash. I don't have an issue with the Sparking Zero one, but the Tenkaichi 3 one just let you like see everything, you know, and I think that was kind of beautiful. Again, OG Budokai does that like that as well, that you could just see the entire length of the beam clash as it's happening. You could see both sides, the effects are beautiful. Again, Sparking Zero's effects are beautiful, but that camera movement is insane. I don't know, it's something about the Sparking Zero camera. They always need to tune it down a little, because while the camera does show both sides, it shows the middle of the beam, then spins around really quick, then shows like one side, then shows like it spins around again, then it shows the other side, and it's like, I kind of want to admire seeing both projectiles at like the same time, you know, because how is this going to look when like it's time to beam clash moves like Spirit Bomb and Death Ball and Supernova, you know? I imagine with really big like projectiles, it's going to get like kind of disorientating. Or at least you won't be able to see too much when they actually beam clash if it stays like this, right? Again, I'm not saying they should change the way beam clashes work in Sparking Zero. I'm just saying that maybe, hopefully, this kind of beam clash is reserved for characters like Gogeta and Broly, because it only references Gogeta and Broly's beam clash. This doesn't reference any other beam clash in Dragon Ball. It forsakes every other beam clash for just Gogeta and Broly. And again, I want to say there's nothing wrong with that, because there isn't, but it should be reserved for characters who are of that tier in like Dragon Ball Super. Like, I don't mind if Ultra Instinct Goku and Jiren have a beam clash like this, right? I wouldn't mind, however, if I can't recreate Goku and Vegeta's beam clash properly with the same map in the same location and the same camera angles too, because it's too busy referencing DBS Broly with the spinning cameras and showing like the beam and then showing both sides, like only one at a time, though, not at the same time. Like, you know, again, it's just like a minor gripe. But someone who did play the older games and is a fan of the OG Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, I will miss that style of beam clash. We'll never get those again, because Xenoverse didn't do them and Fighters didn't do them either. Either way, I think this is a good place to end the video. I still do love the way beam clashes look in Sparking Zero, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot to be desired if it's supposed to be a sequel to Tenkaichi 3, I feel. Other than that, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you prefer or dislike certain aspects of these beam clashes? Because again, I do like it, but there's a lot of things I don't like. Is that the same for you guys, or do you just hate it entirely or love it entirely? Let me know. But other than that, I think it's a pretty good place to end the video. And if you enjoyed, then obviously, again, please leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to greatly support the channel. And leave a comment down below as to what you'd like to see next. Love you all. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Take care and peace.